The ranch sat at the edge of the high desert, where the wind carried the scent of sage, and the horizon stretched so wide it made a man feel like the last soul on earth. The rancher had grown accustomed to silence. Seasons passed, storms rolled through, summers burned hot, winters arrived with sharp air that cut through every open crack, and still he lived alone. He had not planned a lonely life. It had simply folded around him like a heavy blanket he no longer tried to throw off. Most mornings he saddled his horse before sunrise, moved through chores without pause, and spoke to no one but the cattle. The land was his company, the sky his only companion. He had lived long enough in solitude that he no longer expected anything to change, until the day the wind brought footsteps he did not recognize. It happened in the late afternoon, the sun dipping low, shadows stretching long across the dust. He was repairing a section of broken fencing when he heard a rustling in the brush. His hand moved toward his belt out of habit, though he sensed no threat. Instead of danger, he found something he could never have imagined. She walked toward him slowly, her stride unsteady, as if every step cost her more strength than she had. She was taller than any woman he had ever seen, with shoulders broad from a life shaped by wilderness. Her dark hair hung in heavy braids, tangled with leaves and dust. Her clothing was torn, stained with travel and hardship. She looked like she had walked across worlds to reach this place. Then she wavered, her knees buckled, and before he could speak a word, she collapsed forward into his arms. The weight of her surprised him, but he held her, easing her gently to the ground. Her breath was shallow, her skin hot as if fevered. She murmured something in a voice soft and rough, a voice shaped by the Apache tongue he did not fully understand. He whispered that she was safe, though he doubted she could hear him. He carried her to the cabin, her arm draped across his shoulder, her steps dragging. She was taller than he expected up close, her presence filling the room even in her weakened state. He laid her on his bed, covered her with blankets, and sat beside her, unsure what to do. He had not cared for another person in so long that he felt clumsy, almost afraid of doing harm. Through the night he tended to her. He wiped her brow, offered water when she stirred, listened to her restless whispers. The winds outside howled against the cabin walls, but he remained at her side, feeling a purpose he had not known in years. When dawn brought pale light, she finally awoke. Her eyes opened slowly, dark and sharp, filled with confusion. She pushed herself up with surprising strength, and the rancher raised his hands in peace. "You are safe," he said softly. "You collapsed. I only helped." She watched him in silence, studying him with the steady gaze of someone who had learned to trust no one too quickly. But there was no fear in her expression, only caution and exhaustion. She spoke her name, and though her voice trembled, there was pride in it. She explained in careful, simple words that she had been separated from her people for many days, traveling through dangerous country, hunted by men who wished her harm. She had kept moving, refusing capture, refusing defeat, until her body could carry her no farther. The rancher listened with quiet respect. He knew the world could be harsh, especially for those hunted or displaced. He offered her food, and she accepted with dignity. As she ate, he realized how long it had been since another human voice had echoed inside his cabin. Over the next days, she regained her strength. She moved with power, even in recovery, her height and presence stirring something deep within him. She helped with chores when she could, insisting she would not remain useless while resting on his land. She fetched water, gathered firewood, and even repaired tools with a skill that impressed him. They spoke cautiously at first, each trying to understand the other's world. She told him of her homeland, of the mountains and forests her people once roamed freely. He told her of the quiet life he had built, the years of working the land with no one beside him. Slowly, the days took on a new rhythm. Silence no longer felt heavy. The ranch was still quiet, but now the quiet held companionship instead of loneliness. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mesa, they sat outside watching the sky turn shades of rose and gold. She looked toward him, her expression thoughtful. You live alone, she said softly. He nodded. I have, for a long time. You do not seem meant for loneliness. He looked at her, at the strength and fire in her eyes. I did not think I was meant for anything else. She held his gaze with a calm certainty that unsettled him in a way that felt new, almost hopeful. You took me in, she said, when you could have turned away. I could not have left you there. Her voice grew quiet. I know. A soft wind brushed past them, gently carrying the scent of the desert night. In that moment, he knew something had shifted. He was no longer a man expecting nothing from life, and she was no longer a wanderer with nowhere to rest. Two lives that had once walked separate, lonely paths now sat side by side beneath a vast sky, each realizing that fate had not abandoned them after all.